My name is Sophia Mitchell, 38 years old, married to Daniel for nearly 15 years. We have a son, Ethan, who just turned 12. 3 years ago, after Daniel's father passed away from a sudden heart attack, we made what I now recognize as a critical mistake. We moved into his mother's spacious Victorian home to help her adjust to widowhood. Vivian Mitchell had always been particular about her preferences, but I never anticipated how dramatically our living arrangement would transform her from a merely opinionated mother-in-law into what felt like my personal tormentor. The first indications appeared subtly: small comments about the laundry not being folded correctly, questions about why I chose certain ingredients for family meals, remarks about Ethan's schedule being too structured, despite her previous complaints about modern children lacking discipline. "Sophia, dear," she would say, wandering into the kitchen where I prepared dinner after my full workday as an accountant, "don't you think the chicken is a bit overdone?" She would pick up a piece with 2 fingers, examining it with a disappointed frown before setting it back down. I always found that Daniel preferred his chicken more tender. His father was quite particular about that too. These interactions grew increasingly frequent, yet whenever Daniel entered the room, Vivian transformed entirely. "Oh, Daniel, your Sophia is such a treasure in a kitchen. I was just telling her how impressed I am with her chicken recipe. Isn't it delicious?" She would beam, patting my shoulder with such convincing affection that Daniel would smile appreciatively at both of us, completely unaware of the preceding criticism. I initially attributed her behavior to grief and adjustment. Perhaps she needed to assert control over her environment after losing her husband of 40 years. I made allowances, bit my tongue, and tried harder to accommodate her preferences. My patience began to waver when Vivian's interventions extended beyond household matters to parenting decisions. Ethan had always excelled academically, but he struggled with anxiety before exams. When he expressed interest in applying to Preston Academy, a prestigious private school known for its advanced science program, Daniel and I supported his ambition while establishing a reasonable study schedule with appropriate breaks. Vivian vehemently opposed this plan. "You're ruining his childhood with all this studying," she declared one evening, interrupting our family discussion about Ethan's application preparation. When Daniel was young, we never pressured him with extra classes and tutors. Children should be playing outside, not hunched over books every evening. "Mom," Daniel responded calmly, "the world is different now. Competition for good schools starts earlier, and this is something Ethan wants. He only wants it because you two have conditioned him to seek your approval through achievement." Vivian countered, looking directly at me as if Daniel's parenting approach was entirely my influence. I maintained my composure but firmly stated, "Ethan specifically asked about Preston after his science teacher mentioned their robotics program. We're following his lead, not pushing him." Vivian's lips thinned into a tight line. "Well, we'll see how long his enthusiasm lasts when he has no childhood to look back on." The conversation ended there, but Vivian's interference continued. She began scheduling surprise outings during Ethan's designated study periods, bringing home excessive treats that contradicted our attempts to maintain healthy eating habits, and questioning our parental decisions in front of Ethan, undermining our authority. One Tuesday afternoon, I returned from work to find Ethan's study materials scattered across the living room floor. "Vivian? Ethan? What happened here?" I called out, setting down my laptop bag. Vivian appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Oh, Ethan was looking for his science textbook. I was helping him search." The methodical destruction of our organized study space suggested otherwise. Notebooks were open to random pages, flashcards mixed together from different subjects, and several pages appeared torn from Ethan's carefully maintained planner. "Where is Ethan now?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice neutral. "I sent him to the park with some neighborhood children," she replied casually. "He seems stressed about that practice test tomorrow. Fresh air will do him more good than all these books." I stood speechless, aware that the practice test was crucial preparation for Preston Academy's entrance exam scheduled the following week. We had planned a focus review session for that evening. "Vivian, we discussed this. The practice test is important to help Ethan identify areas where he needs additional preparation." "Oh, don't be so rigid, Sophia," she dismissed with a wave of her hand. "One missed study session won't determine his future. Besides, I've been meaning to tell you that I think this whole Preston Academy business is unnecessary. The local public school was good enough for Daniel. I spent the next hour reorganizing Ethan's materials and texting him to come home. When he returned, his expression reflected confusion and guilt. "Grandma said you wouldn't mind if I took a break today," he explained hesitantly. "It's all right, Ethan," I assured him. "Let's just get back to our schedule. The test is important to you, right?" He nodded earnestly. "Yes, I really want to try for Preston." That evening, after Ethan went to bed, I attempted to discuss the situation with Daniel. "I think your mother is deliberately sabotaging Ethan's study schedule." I began carefully. "Today she scattered all his materials and sent him to the park without checking with us first." Daniel sighed. "Mom can be a bit old-fashioned about education, but I'm sure she means well. She probably just thinks Ethan needs more balance." "This isn't about different parenting philosophies, Daniel." She waited until I was at work, dismantled his organized study space, and sent him away right before an important practice test. "That's not a difference of opinion. That's deliberate interference." The conversation ended inconclusively, with Daniel promising to speak with his mother but ultimately suggesting that I might be reading too much into things because of the stress of our living arrangement. The situation reached its inevitable breaking point 3 days later. The Preston Academy entrance examination was scheduled for Saturday morning. Friday evening, Daniel and I planned a special dinner to help Ethan relax. His favorite lasagna, garlic bread, and a small ice cream dessert as a treat before his early bedtime. I left work early to prepare everything, stopping at the specialty Italian market for fresh ingredients. When I called Vivian to let her know I'd be home soon, she assured me that everything was fine and Ethan was upstairs reviewing his notes. Upon arriving home, I was immediately struck by the sound of raucous laughter and electronic game noises coming from the living room. I entered to find Ethan surrounded by 3 other boys, all playing video games amid a chaos of soda cans, chip bags, and cookie wrappers. "Ethan, what's going on?" I asked, struggling to process the scene. "Grandma said I could have friends over for a surprise pre-test party," he explained excitedly, though I detected a note of uncertainty in his voice. Vivian appeared from the kitchen, carrying another bowl of chips. "Sophia, you're early. I thought a little celebration would help Ethan relax before tomorrow." Too much studying makes for a nervous test taker. I glanced at my watch, 6:30 p.m. Ethan's bedtime was set for 9 o'clock to ensure he was well rested for the 8 o'clock a.m. exam. "Ethan needs a proper meal and an early night, not sugar and excitement," I said quietly, trying to avoid creating a scene in front of his friends. "We discussed this plan as a family." "Plans can change," Vivian replied dismissively. "Boys need to be boys. Besides, I've made pizza for everyone. It should be ready in about an hour." An hour of additional waiting for dinner would completely disrupt our careful schedule. I felt a surge of anger that I could no longer suppress. "Ethan, please ask your friends to head home now. We need to prepare for tomorrow," I stated firmly. "But Grandma said," he began. "I understand, but this is important. The test is early tomorrow, and we had a plan." Vivian interjected. "Don't be ridiculous, Sophia. The boys are having fun. A little excitement won't hurt his test performance. If anything, it will help him sleep better." That was the moment something inside me snapped. 3 years of accumulated frustration, undermined authority, and manipulative behavior crystallized into absolute clarity. "Boys," I addressed Ethan's friends directly, "I'm sorry, but we need to end this gathering now. Ethan has an important test tomorrow morning. I'll call your parents to pick you up." Despite protests from both the children and Vivian, I remained firm. After the boys departed and Ethan went upstairs to shower before dinner, Vivian confronted me in the kitchen. "How dare you undermine me in front of Ethan and his friends?" she demanded. "I was only trying to give him some normal childhood experiences instead of this test-obsessed environment you've created." "No, Vivian," I replied, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "You were deliberately sabotaging his preparation for something important to him. This isn't about different parenting styles, it's about respect. You don't respect our decisions as parents, and you actively work against our family's goals. That's absurd. Everything I do is for this family's benefit. Daniel would understand, even if you don't." "Then let's ask him," I suggested, hearing the front door open as Daniel arrived home from work. The ensuing conversation was uncomfortable but necessary. With Ethan upstairs, I calmly recounted the day's events and the pattern of interference that had been building for months. To my surprise and relief, Daniel didn't immediately defend his mother. "Mom, is this true?" he asked, his expression troubled. "Did you organize a party knowing Sophia and I had already planned a quiet evening for Ethan?" "I was thinking of Ethan's well-being," Vivian insisted. "All this pressure about one test can't be healthy when you were his age." "Mom," Daniel interrupted gently, "I'm not Ethan, and this isn't 25 years ago. Sophia and I make decisions together about our son's education and schedule. You need to respect that." Vivian's face flushed with indignation. "So now I'm the villain for wanting my grandson to have some fun. I suppose next you'll tell me I have no say in this house at all, my own home." An uncomfortable silence followed her outburst. Finally, Daniel spoke. "I think we need to reconsider our living arrangement." Over the next hour, as I prepared Ethan's dinner and helped him finalize his preparations for the exam, Daniel and his mother continued their discussion in hushed tones in the study. Later that night, after Ethan was asleep, Daniel joined me in our bedroom with a resolved expression. "I've talked with Mom. We're going to start looking for our own place next week." "Are you sure?" I asked, both relieved and concerned about his relationship with his mother. "Yes," he affirmed. "This isn't working. I should have listened to you sooner about how she was undermining our parenting. I'm sorry, Sophia." The next morning, Ethan took his entrance examination while Vivian remained noticeably absent from breakfast, staying in her room with claims of a headache. 2 weeks later, we received the news. Ethan had been accepted to Preston Academy with a partial merit scholarship. When we shared the news at dinner, Vivian's response was telling. While she said stiffly, "I suppose all that studying paid off after all. Though I still think." "Mom," Daniel interjected firmly, "this is a moment to celebrate Ethan's achievement without qualifications." She pressed her lips together, but nodded reluctantly. The following month, we moved into a modest 3-bedroom house just 15 minutes from Vivian's home. Close enough for regular visits, but with necessary separation to establish healthy boundaries. The transition wasn't without challenges. Vivian initially refused to visit our new home, claiming we had abandoned her, but gradually adjusted as Daniel maintained consistent contact while enforcing our parental authority. Ethan flourished at Preston Academy, his confidence growing with each academic achievement and new friendship. Without the constant tension at home, our family dynamics improved significantly. Daniel and I communicated more openly, addressing issues before they escalated. Even my relationship with Vivian slowly evolved into something more respectful, if not entirely warm. 6 months after our move, during Sunday dinner at Vivian's house, she surprised us with an unexpected acknowledgement. The science fair project Ethan presented, about renewable energy, she began hesitantly. His teachers sent me photos. He's clearly thriving at Preston. She paused, then added quietly, "Perhaps you both knew what was best for him after all." It wasn't a complete apology, but from Vivian it represented significant progress. Daniel reached across the table to squeeze his mother's hand, while I offered a genuine smile of appreciation for her effort. That evening, driving home with Ethan dozing in the backseat, Daniel remarked, "I should have recognized what was happening sooner. I'm sorry you had to endure that for so long." "We all did what we thought was right at the time," I replied. "The important thing is that we found a solution that works for everyone, especially Ethan." Daniel nodded, reaching for my hand. "And for us. I don't think I realized how much tension I was carrying until we moved. Our home feels like our asterisk home now." Looking back, I realized that sometimes the most difficult boundaries to establish are with those we care about most. Living with Vivian taught me that genuine family harmony doesn't come from endless accommodation or silent suffering, but from honest communication and mutual respect. While those 3 years under her roof were challenging, they ultimately strengthened our family unit and, unexpectedly, led to a healthier relationship with my mother-in-law, one built on clearer boundaries and earned respect rather than obligation and resentment. Today, when Vivian occasionally starts to overstep, a gentle reminder is usually sufficient, a vast improvement from where we began. She'll never be the mother-in-law of my dreams, but we found a balance that allows our family to thrive while maintaining meaningful connections across generations. And in the end, isn't that what family is truly about?